Meet my new friend Bert. Bert, a California native turned world traveler, makes awesome content that showcases his adventures abroad with a special focus on his culinary experiences. From Bicol Express to balut and isaw, he is a passionate Filipino food enthusiast with a deep appreciation for the rich and diverse flavors of the Philippines. Be sure to check out his channel, link below. In our conversation, Bert and I explored the incredible diversity of Filipino cuisine, his top food picks and recommendations, his personal experiences with Filipino culture, and so much more. I hope you guys enjoy the video. How many times have you been to the Philippines?
I've been to the Philippines, I think 5 times now.
Yeah, I was looking through your YouTube videos and I went back to like the oldest one. And early on, like 5 years ago, you were even making videos in the Philippines. You've been making content there for a long time.
Yeah.
How did you end up in the Philippines from there then? When was the very first trip that you took in the Philippines?
I went to the Philippines the first time in 2014, right when the flight Malaysia 370, flight 370 went missing. I think that's the name of the flight. And it was kind of scary. Like I was there at that time and I'm in the general area. So yeah, I mean, that was my first time getting to the Philippines. I stayed for like 6 or 7 days. I loved it. I just stayed in Manila and I was eating balut. I mean, I didn't make any videos because it was 2014 or 15 at that time. So I was having a great trip. Just that was pre YouTube. I didn't know that YouTube even existed back then. Like I didn't know that YouTube had money to pay for people that uploaded content to YouTube.
You said you've been to the Philippines 5 times, right?
Yeah.
And what's the longest that you've stayed there at one time?
It's always been 1 month because they have got the visa only for 1 month, but now apparently you can like extend it. It's a lot easier. So I'm probably going to stay there another one of these times for like longer than a month, maybe a month and a half or 2 months.
Wow, so you've been there for like 5 months collectively then, over 5 different trips essentially.
Yeah, so first time it was like 5 days. Second time it was about 1 month. And then third time it was like 3 weeks. And then fourth time it was 3.5 weeks or something. Okay, maybe it's only been 4 times, not 5 times to the Philippines. But I did do a transfer in the Philippines one time. That doesn't count as entering the Philippines. So yeah, 5 times landing in the Philippines airport. But one time we have to cancel.
And in those 4 trips, have you like kind of traveled around to different places, or were you mostly kind of in Manila, or how did that look?
Mostly I went to Baguio and then Angeles City and Manila, unfortunately. And then I also went to, on this recent trip, I went to Florida Blanca. Florida Blanca is a place near Angeles City, like about an hour away from Angeles. And it's a cool place. They got a cool market. They've got a big like American military base there and like a whole bunch of expats living there. But it's like different than Angeles City, but it is in Pampanga.
I was only there one time. I was there for 3 weeks. And I didn't go anywhere north of Manila. So we didn't go to Baguio or Pampanga or any of those areas.
I think that most people go south and go to the islands. I mean, that makes more sense to go to Boracay and Cebu and Bohol and all these places. I just have not been yet. I would like to go for sure.
Yeah, there's so much to see in the Philippines, you know? For such a small country, there's a million different things you can do and see and visit. It's crazy. Are you interested in learning Tagalog but having trouble finding quality learning materials? Allow me to introduce my Beginner's Tagalog course. 8 years ago, I began teaching myself Tagalog, but I got really frustrated, not only by the complexities of the language, but also the lack of resources for Tagalog. So that's why I decided to create the language course that I wish I had when I started learning. Sign up for my beginner's bundle and get lifetime access to 18 video lessons with corresponding PDF vocabulary sheets. Click the first link down below to get started. Now, back to the video. When you went on your first trip to the Philippines, what was it about it that made you want to come back for 3 more trips?
It was definitely the people were so friendly, so smiley, and the food also was a lot better than like what I originally thought. Of course, it's very similar to Thai food, but with a twist. And it's like, you know, they got the calamansi, they got the coconut milk, they got all the fresh tropical everything. You know, everything is tropical. It was definitely like the people, number one. The food was definitely like frosting on the cake, but also the just overall vibe you get in the Philippines. It's an adventure. You got the tuk-tuks, you've got the different ways of transportation, like the jeepneys, and yeah, so much fun, adventurous things. And Philippines, you know, it's just, you get up in the mountains and you're like, this feels like South America. It feels diverse. It feels like another planet almost. And then you can get down to the south. I mean, I had not been to Cebu yet, but I would really like to go to Cebu for sure, like, and all the other places in the south.
I mean, that's the slogan of the Philippines, the tourism tourism slogan. It's more fun in the Philippines, right?
Yeah, it is. It is definitely a lot of fun. You never know what's going to happen in the Philippines. You could be walking down the street and meet some random people that are like, hey, let's have a drink, blah, blah, blah. And then you just end up out till 2 in the morning with all these people you just met yesterday, drinking the local coconut wine and having like, the time of your life. So I just feel like, life is too short to not figure out what you love. And, making videos about travel and also food. I mean, it's something that I kind of like, but I love to share that with the rest of the world. The fact is, I don't want to go back and live in America and be like 9 to 5 job every day, have a house mortgage, have basically a feeling that you're like, you may be able to travel when you're like 50 years old because maybe you'll pay off your house, but then you're 55 years old or 60 years old, and then you can't really enjoy that traveling like you could right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of people here that, like in the West, I guess in general, they're just working a 9 to 5, 40 hours a week so they can have 2 weeks in Mexico once a year. If you're happy with that, like all the power to you. We need people that are doing that grind, but I'm with you. That's not my grind. I don't want to do that. So like out of all of those countries that you've been to, because it sounds like you've been like almost everywhere, what's your favorite country? Do you have one that like is your top one?
So my favorite country could be the Philippines, but it also could be Thailand for different reasons. Like every country's got its specialty and its good parts and its not so good parts. I love China as well. I love Vietnam. I feel like, spending a couple weeks or even a month in one country is perfect because you can go to the next country and kind of enjoy that. All the things that you missed about that country and enjoy those things. That's what I love about travel. The fact that you can really go and enjoy the best parts about that country. And then you can leave. Of course, you're going to miss those things, but you're going to have those things when you get back to that place.
And how does the Philippines compare to other countries in Southeast Asia?
It definitely has got its different vibe going on. You got a lot of American influence. You've got the Spanish influence for sure. You got the tropical climate, which makes everything better. Of course, it's a lot of coconut-based foods, the Coal Express and sinigang. The people are just so friendly and smiley and nice. I mean, I think the Philippines is on par with Thailand as far as being super friendly to everyone, and maybe even more friendly. Even like in some cases, like they're more warm and welcoming than even Thailand, I would say.
Yeah, they're definitely very welcoming of people, and they aren't suspicious of people from other countries. They're actually the opposite. They seem to be drawn to people that are like, traveling from a different place. They're curious about where you're from and what you're doing. Very open to chat with people as well.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And yeah, the Filipinos, they're just overall like, if they can, I mean, they will try to pay for your meal. They were going to try to welcome you as any way they can figure out how to welcome you. Yeah, it's just always a surprise when you go to the Philippines. Where did you end up going when you traveled to the Philippines?
We were just there for 3 weeks. We spent most of that in Manila. We were staying in Makati and we went to Cavite. So we went to Tagaytay and then we went farther south to Cebu, but only for one day. So it was pretty short. And then we spent a few days in Bohol as well on the island.
And what's your favorite Filipino food out of all the foods you've ever tried?
I think my favorite food is sisig. I
love
love
sisig.
sisig.
Yeah, it's amazing. Did
Mhm.
you try like it in Pampanga? Actually, like the actual like Aling Lusing, it's a chain.
No. One of the best ones that I had was in Manila at just like a little street food vendor. I remember I was out recording on the streets one day and I was walking back to our Airbnb and I saw this little street vendor and I just like popped in there and just said, "Oh, what do they have?" And I said, "Oh, let me try the sisig." And it was like, I don't know, $4 or something. Came with rice, came with a little sabao, it's like some soup, and it was amazing, delicious. It was just like perfect.
The best places to go are definitely like on the street with the calendarias that like are the OG local grandmas that have been cooking for like 20 years there. They're making all kinds of good stuff. They're making Bicol Express. They're making, sisig typically. The best sisig though is definitely on the skillet and cooked fresh when you order it. And then they use the fire to like kind of sear the top and then they put the mayonnaise on it sometimes. And then of course it's cooked with margarine, unfortunately, but it is really good.
So what is your favorite Filipino food of all time?
Could be laing if it's cooked right, if it's got a lot of coconut. I also love Bicol Express when it's really creamy and coconutty and spicy, like Bicol would have it. If it's not spicy, it's just not that exciting to me. Pinakbet is great too as well. It's kind of like a pumpkin with some okra sometimes and bitter melon and some other green beans as well. And that's also nice too. Sisig is great when it's done right. But yeah, sometimes you go to a calendaria and the sisig is sitting there for a long time and it's like not as good if it's not very hot, like searing hot. I want it to burn my mouth. Like if it's not burning your mouth, the sisig is not as good as it could be.
That's interesting that you said the very first one you said was laing. Like I always ask people what their favorite Filipino food is, and normally I get kind of like your more traditional answers, you know, like sinigang, adobo, lumpia, sisig. But laing, that's very interesting. I tried that once when I was in the Philippines. We tried it in combination with a bunch of other kind of like street food. Like we had balut the same day. We had dinuguan.
Yeah, dinuguan is amazing. Sometimes dinuguan is good. Sometimes dinuguan is like really not good. So it just depends which dinuguan you have. Depends who
It was
makes it.
okay, yeah. The laing was a very interesting flavor because it's kind of like a soup stew type of deal, and it has shrimp in it, right? Am I thinking of the right one?
It can have sardines
Okay.
as well. They've got all kinds of
Ah.
variations of lying. Sometimes it's like very coconutty, creamy, and very simple flavor. And you got like a toro root known as the gabi, and they cook that down like a spinach kind of casserole or like spinach soup. But yeah, it's very thick normally. But yeah, there's so many different varieties. And sometimes I try lying and I'm like, this is not good at all. And then sometimes I have it and it's amazing. It's the best dish. So it just, there's so much variation. So anyone to try Philippines food for the first time and just be like, oh, that's not for me. That's not good. I mean, there's so many different variations of the same dish. So you really got to get out there and try a couple different versions from hopefully like some elderly grandma's house that's been running the calendaria for like 30 years and just like cooking up a storm every morning, and then get in there like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning and have everything kind of relatively fresh. That is the best way to have calendaria.
Like if people say that they don't like Filipino food, they've probably just not tried it because Filipino food is amazing. And like you said, it's very diverse. There's a lot of different things that you can have. It seems like there's so many kind of like fusions of different cultures as well. Like they have some Spanish influence, like down in Cebu, they have lechon. That's their main dish there, the traditional dish from Cebu. Then they also have a lot of Chinese influence. You see that with lumpia, with siomai, and lots of different stuff like that. And then they have more like Asian influence dishes and some traditional Filipino ones, of course. And so I really do think that there's something for everybody there.
Yeah, there is.
What would you say is like the most unusual thing that you've eaten in the Philippines?
Isaw is definitely up there, especially when they forget to clean it properly. That can be a very weird tasting thing.
As somebody from the US, like let's say as an American visiting the Philippines for the very first time, what do you think are like the main differences that they would notice between life in the US and life in the Philippines?
Definitely, you would first off like notice the poverty would be the main thing you're going to see. USA also has got crazy poverty in certain places, but in Philippines, you've got it more spread out, you know. But it's not like in your face, like not being like pushy. In America, you know, you feel in danger. In Philippines, most of the time you're not like in danger, but you do feel bad about seeing the poverty and seeing the kids running around and stuff like this. I mean, this is definitely something that you don't see in America as far as kids running around. So that is one thing about the Philippines that is like no other country, or not no other country. There's other countries like this, but you know, Thailand doesn't really have this kind of kids running around. Malaysia also does not. Singapore obviously does not. Laos will definitely have this kind of vibe going on, but the kids have got like an actual place to stay. And I know the Filipino kids, they also like the ones that look like they're homeless, they could also be sent out by their parents to ask for money as well. But yeah, this is definitely one of the things that you have to watch out for. And, you know, also the kids can steal from your pocket too as well. Not that that happens all the time, but yeah, you got to be on the lookout for this kind of stuff. And they do swarm you. There's like 10 kids that will come up and around you and swarm you. Yeah, it's definitely, you got to watch out.
Well, I don't know what it's at right now, but I remember looking at a statistic that said 1 in 4 Filipinos live below the poverty line, which for a country of 100 million people, I mean, we're talking 25 million people living in poverty. That's, you know, Canada only has 40 million people in total. And so it is crazy. And, you know, something that I hear a lot from people is the resilience of the Filipino people. Like in the midst of poverty, they handle it well. They just do what they can. They find a way to make a living. They have a positive attitude, even though they have every right not to. It's very impressive, the resilience of people living in the Philippines, especially those that are no less well off.
Yeah, they definitely have a positive outlook. And also they can go back to their province. almost live for free because there's so many things available to them in their provinces. Like as far as there's trees that grow these fruits, there's mangoes, there's all these other things that grow naturally. They have got like everything in the Philippines as far as it's a tropical place. But of course, there's, medical care they need and other things. And, they're only making like $2 a day sometimes and sometimes $10 a day. If you're in Manila, you're making like 15, could be 12, could be $20 a day, depending on what their job is. But in the provinces, they can be making like, $5 a day or something like this. Like it's definitely tough. And I'm not saying everybody's making this, but there is a lot of people making this kind of money and they're making like, 50 cents an hour.
Yeah, that's a tough life. That's a really tough life.
And so, yeah, they're just working in a cafe and, they don't have that many customers. I think that tourism definitely helps the Philippines as well. But of course, we need to hope that the tourism gets better and then they can kind of get some of the other travelers from going to Vietnam and going to China and going to Japan and going to everywhere, Thailand. They need to siphon off some of those travelers and get them to come. I mean, it's a special place for sure.
And talking about tourists and tourism, if someone's traveling to the Philippines, what would be your recommendation for the top 3 foods that they should try?
Top 3 foods that you should try when you come to the Philippines. When you get off the plane, for sure, sinigang, adobo, of course, but like a grandma's adobo, not some random place's adobo. It's got to be a good adobo because adobo is a massive dish. I mean, there's so many variations and yeah. And also they should try the adobo that's like with the pork belly and it's a little bit sweet. I forget the name of it, but it's also really, really good. Then maybe they should try Bicol Express and sisig.
Sinigang, adobo, sisig, Bicol Express.
Yeah, I guess I picked 4, but yeah, I mean, these are pretty essential ones. If you only have a day in the Philippines or 2 days in the Philippines, you got to find these ones and go to a good place. Maybe if you're in Angeles City, you can go to Aling Lusing or Milas is really good for Angeles City. And then if you're in Manila, I would say Aling Sosing is the best place to go. Aling Sosing, they've got, they start making everything at 10:30 in the morning. Actually, they make it at like 10, but they open at 10:30. They're just cooking away. If you get there at like 11 o'clock or 10:45, that's perfect timing because they're just making everything fresh. It's hot. And then, you get all these small little portions, but it is expensive there, I would say overall, because they've got a long line of people every day. So they kind of raise their prices more than a normal cafeteria. But I would say that the quality is just so high and it'll be probably about $7 or $8 for you to eat there. But that is definitely a meal you will never forget. Their sinigang is amazing. Their ulalo, their pinakbet, their bitter melon, all the coconut flavors, all the different things. It's just very fresh. They make everything with passion and they've been doing it for like 50 years. The family has been running it for like 40 years. He's been running it or something.
Wow.
It's very good quality food. It's second generation now of people running it now. So yeah, it's just a street food place, mom and pop shop it's between Pasay and Makati, very close to the border. 5-minute walk to the border.
When is your next trip to the Philippines? Do you have something planned already?
I think I'm going to go back to the Philippines in March and March maybe 15th or March 20th or something like that. I will go to Shanghai and edit some videos. I've got even videos from the last Philippines trip that I still need to edit. It's going to be great to get back to the Philippines, like for a good extended trip. It's always nice. I mean, there's certain smells you smell and there's certain just feelings of being there. The heat, the humidity, it's just always fun in the Philippines. Like,
what's your favorite thing about the Philippines, would you say?
Definitely, I would say the people would be the number one. And then, just the overall culture, the vibe. You're in a tropical climate, there's a lot of amazing fresh foods, coconuts. There's the wildlife, which is always unpredictable. There could be a monkey stealing from your hotel room, depending on where you're at. It's just always a crazy adventure. You never know what's going to happen in the Philippines.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's a place of adventures. That's for sure.
That's kind of why I love Southeast Asia in general. Like it's just in different places around Southeast Asia and China as well. It's just you've got so much different culture that is kind of all in the same region. Europe is cool too. I love Europe and European culture is great, but just it's more predictable over there. You know what's going to happen. You know you're going to just walk around, see the tourist sites and, go to some restaurant and you feel like you're kind of like in America, except it's like older than America. But having like the Philippines experience. You have no idea what to expect for your day. And that's what makes it exciting. That's what travel is all about. Like to live with or hang out with people that had a very different lifestyle than you, that have got so much culture to share with you, so much useful information to share as well. Just like their way of climbing up a coconut tree could be something interesting, or the way that they somehow get by with life with like $5 a day. I mean, it's amazing to me that they can figure out how to do this.
Yeah, some of the best days that I had in the Philippines were days that weren't planned. Like I just went out and I didn't really have an agenda. I just said, I'll just take it one step at a time. I'm going to start at this little hole in the wall restaurant and we'll have some food and then we'll see where it goes. And then I was never disappointed. You know, I'd meet people and people were so generous with me. And I remember this one day in Tagaytay in Cavite, little kind of mom and pop place selling food. I went over there and I had some barbecue chicken, I think it was barbecue pork, and I wanted to go to this park that was nearby, this kind of mountain, you know, like Cavite is in the mountains a little bit and it has a lookout over a volcano and stuff like that, and I wanted to check it out. So I was just asking her, like, you know, how much should I pay for like a Jeep or like some public transit? How would I get out there? And she was like, well, you know, I have a driver that does deliveries, so he can just take you. And I was like, really? And then she's like, yeah, for sure. So then I hopped in with him and he just like took me around and he dropped me off. He came back a couple hours later and he picked me up, and we were doing like food deliveries on the way there and on the way back. And so I was just hanging out with him and he was like so cool. And at the end, he didn't want to charge me anything. I like kind of forced him to take some money because I was like, no, like you're going out of your way to help me. But Filipinos are just like that, and you can't plan it. Like it just happens organically. You know, like you said, it's just an adventure.